let's begin. First of all, welcome to Unique Solutions for Smaller Applications. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. My name is Sam Spinacchio, and I'm the Director of Sales for KRA USA, and I'll be your host today. I'm not really trained to host webinars, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last. Rusty Waite, President of KRA USA. So today's webinar is about unique audio solutions for smaller applications. So these applications include where your goal might be high quality background music, improved speech intelligibility, immersive sound, or a combination of the above. KRA's unique solutions for smaller applications include restaurants, hotel lobbies, lounges, retail shops, museums, exhibits, courtrooms, private homes, even TV shows. Before we begin, I want to talk a little bit about what is common throughout the entire KRA line. From our smallest speakers to our largest concert speakers, KRA has been the pioneer in high quality, compact loudspeaker systems. You can see here two very thin vertical hangs of our amazing KH7s. Notice how nothing occludes the stage. There's no bulky traditional line array boxes to distract the audience. Just really clean, really out of the way. And for 50,000 plus people, really high SPL and throw distance. This is one of the most beautiful theaters in the world. This is the La Scala Theater in Milan. Why would you want to look at a bunch of big black boxes up there? If you look at how elegant these two long vertical arrays of KRA Python are on the left and right, that covers the whole theater, that plus some subs. A lot of people will walk into a facility and see that and say, that's not going to work. Well, yes, it does. We have similar solutions at the Royal Opera House in London and the Grand Teatro in Havana, Cuba, and other theaters around the world. And KRA is also about creativity and flexibility. So look at the four anacondas wrapped around this table. I mean, that's being used for host and guest monitors. What could be more unobtrusive? And here's a few photos of this year's Super Bowl. It's CP Communications provided Fox Sports with all the audio support. On the top left there, you see cobras that are built into the wood wall there, very unobtrusive. On the top right, you have the two KH7s per side, very little PA for the size of area they wanted to cover. And on the bottom right, you have the anaconda. So speakers may ruin moments. Lovely photo, huh? So anyhow, this kind of drives home the point of what KRA wants to help you avoid. KRA is not just pro audio, it's artisan audio. Elegant, minimal, very high tech, and really something you're not going to believe until you experience it for yourself. So at KRA, we're asking you to think a little differently. If your attitude is, we're going to do it this way because that's the way we've always done it, really, I wouldn't waste your time with KRA. So KRA is unique. I mean, our aesthetics are unique, our technology is unique, and our approach to reinforced sound is unique. So Do yourself a favor, give your clients something better, something more creative, something less visible, and something awesome sounding. KRA can help you set yourself apart from your competition, and the architects will be thrilled as well. One of the things that goes across the line too is we can offer custom RAL paint colors for almost all of our speakers. Excuse me. The exception is the little truffle subs are only available in black, and the larger subs are available in white and black, but not custom colors. Here's some KU26s, so stainless steel boxes painted red. Here's some premium finishes. We can do custom plating. So we can do 24 karat gold, chrome, silver, antique gold, and more. And most of our speakers are IP64. So KRA doesn't make weather-resistant models. All of our speakers are weather-resistant. Some of them can even be IP65 with a little kit, but the only ones that wouldn't be are the Thunder subs. With, you know, they're the wooden boxes, the powered subs. On the left here, you see the Hornblower, company called Hornblower in Manhattan. We've done 3 of their boats now. The speakers sit outside on the boat on the Hudson River all the time. And here you see one of our speakers kind of built into a tree. So what we do at KRA is we offer unique audio solutions, premium quality, creative design assistance, custom colors and finishes on most of our speakers, and the ability to thrill your clients. What we don't do is offer cookie cutter solutions, open every dealer on the block, offer additional discounts to bigger dealers, or sell end users. So let's now get into the actual speakers used for smaller applications. This is the Lizard KZ14. So this speaker is milled from a single block of aluminum and contains 4 half-inch neodymium drivers. I believe it's probably the smallest line array in the world. You'd be amazed at how a handful of these with the proper complement of subs can really light up a room. And here's the data sheet. This tiny speaker can produce 96 dB max and has a very wide 140-degree horizontal dispersion. It's also a 16-ohm speaker. And here are the subs that go with what we're going to be talking about today. So the truffle subs on the left and the rumble subs on the right. The truffle subs come only in black, and the rumble subs, and they're aluminum, and the rumble subs are stainless steel, and they can be painted or plated, you know, any custom way you need. One thing about these subs too, they're all designed with a single driver and a matching passive radiator. What that allows is it allows a much more punch in a smaller box. It also allows them to be weather resistant because there's no ports or holes, so they can be IP64. I want to make a point here. All of our speakers have specific DSP and limiter settings, very similar to the biggest PA rigs, whether you're talking about our KH7 rigs or L Acoustics or Martin Audio MLA. You need to think of these as systems, not just speakers, not just buying a couple speakers and hooking it up with anybody's sub or anybody's amp, because your results will not be nearly as optimal as using an entire system with our subs and amps. So you have this little system, and most people, a restaurateur, whoever, I don't want to see the subwoofer. Well, of course you don't. But these subs are so small, you can put the sub under a banquette, under a chair, under a table. The low frequencies are going to get around. It's not like the mid-high element where if you put something in front of it, it's going to stop the dispersion. And here's a cut sheet on one of the truffle subs. So this is the 5 1/4 inch, 45 hertz to 500 hertz, 115 dB peak. A lot of punch in a small package. So typical restaurant, you can hide the subwoofer under the seating, under tables, behind a plant. And here's the little KZ14s. So I don't know if you'd noticed them until I pointed them out. And the last part of this system is our little 4-channel KA02 amplifier. This little amp is actually our most sophisticated amp. It's 50 watts a channel. There's balanced analog, optical, aux inputs, integrated Wi-Fi, 4 USB ports, Bluetooth connectivity, so you can stream from your phone or your iPad, web radio streaming, multi-room management over Ethernet. The best way to hook this up in any kind of restaurant or retail shop is definitely to connect it, the Ethernet connection to your router. And once you do that, you can use any app you want. Here's a little restaurant in the Gucci Museum, and you can see the little KZ14 on the wall. That's just pointing out one speaker. There are other little KZ14s hidden around this area. Again, restaurant, pointing out one of the speakers. I believe in here there's probably 2 on each wall opposing each other. Very unobtrusive. So some people ask, can you use the KZ14 without a subwoofer? I definitely don't recommend it in any kind of music application. The KZ14 crossover is, with the music setting, is 500 hertz. So you're going to miss a lot of low-mid frequency. But there are a few applications, one of which is a courthouse or government chamber, where you have a dais with a bunch of speakers. If you need just a little bit of increased speech intelligibility, this can work very effectively. But really, for 99%, 99.9% of all applications, use a sub with the KZ14. Here's another application. This is The Voice. I'm sure you've all heard of The Voice. Just watch The Voice. So they built KZ14s into the chairs. Now they're using the other standard setting in the software, which actually brings the crossover down to 250 hertz, giving you a little more low end out of the KZ14. So the reason they did this is the judges were tending to sit up in their chair, to lean forward to hear each other, and the optics weren't very good. So they put in these monitors, and then the judges can hear each other quite well. As far as mounting option, for the Lizard and the Vipers that we're going to be talking about in a bit, they're all pretty much the same. So when you get the speaker, it includes double-sided adhesive strips that you could stick it on the wall. When I do demos, I just use poster tack because the speakers are very light. There's also a magnetic strip, for permanent installs. So the best way is to remove the grill and just screw it to the wall so nobody can walk off with it, because they are kind of pretty. We also offer a flush mount kit for the Lizard speakers. So here you see that speaker is flush, but if you flush mounted without the kit, you're going to occlude some of the horizontal dis dispersion. So what this does is it continues, it gives you a curve so that you're not stopping that 140-degree dispersion. And this is one of our Azimut kits. So you can buy these little kits and they're plug and play. So here you get two of the KZ14s, you get a sub, you get the little amp, and you get the wireless remote. I really recommend as a dealer that you purchase one of these systems. We will offer you 20% additional discount off of dealer cost to purchase one of these. And you might even consider purchasing one of these and then purchasing another couple speakers that'll work with it, so you have a real demo kit. Because I'm telling you, I take it to every sales call I do, go in the conference room, set it up in 5 minutes, and by the time people are walking in, they're just amazed at what they're hearing and the size of the speakers. So placement with all of these speakers is crucial. You want to get the height correct. Just don't forget, this is very wide horizontal dispersion, but vertically not that much. So depending on whether you're going to be standing or seated, you want to position the height properly. As far as the width, so these are flanking a flat screen, and you see they're pushed way out to the sides. Most people would put speakers a little further in or right on the edge of that flat screen. If they're right out to the sides, what happens is you get that reflection off the sidewalls, but it's not a negative reflection. It's so simultaneous that it blends with the direct sound and gives you a much more immersive quality. This kit comes with 16-foot long wires on the speakers and such, so it really is plug and play. You want even more immersive sound? Well, then instead of just two speakers, you could put two on the opposing wall. You know, wire them both up in stereo and have the subs. And at this point, anywhere you move in the room, you're really still hearing a stereo image. Here's another example. This is a very laid-back lounge in a hotel. So there's not that much ambient noise. That's another thing you got to consider when choosing speakers. So that's, again, showing one speaker. There's actually two on that wall and two on the opposing wall, just like the diagram I just showed you. With lower background noise levels, KZ14 sounds wonderful in a room this size. Here's a little retail shop. It's about 115 square foot. Again, that shop's never going to be crowded or loud or whatnot. So, you know, 2 or 4 speakers in there, and you're just going to get lovely background music. Now we're going to move on to the KZ1. So the KZ1 is actually a point source speaker. It's the same sort of dimensions as the KZ14, you know, depth and width wise, just smaller length. And it's a single 1/2-inch neodymium driver. Super elegant, tiny package. It's not going to put out as much SPL as the KZ14. It's not going to throw quite as far. But again, for a retail space with low ambient noise, it's great for background music. Again, a 16 ohm speaker. And it's 140 by 140. So given that it's a point source, you got a lot larger vertical dispersion. And again, you can buy an Azimut kit. This is the Azimut 2L1. So it's 2 of the KZ1s, subwoofer, the amp, and the remote. And this is a wine and cheese shop right down the road from our headquarters in Wellesley, Mass. So you can see they have one of these systems with the KZ1s. So those tiny speakers up there and the small sub sitting on top of the refrigerator unit fill that entire wine and cheese shop. And again, there's never 100 people at a time in there, so you don't need to worry about ambient noise levels. It really sounds great. Excuse me, sorry about that. Here you have a situation in a private home. So you you have the little KZ1s on the side and the sub on the bottom. Very elegant, very minimal. So now we're going to go to the bigger Viper. The Viper is basically a larger version of the KZ14. So instead of half-inch drivers, it has 4 1-inch neodymium drivers. And this will now do a max SPL of 108 dB versus 96. The vertical coverage is a little less. Horizontal is still 140. But one of the key things, once you get up to Viper, now you have the ability to have a switch to switch between 8 ohms and 32 ohms. That's crucial if you're going to have multiple speakers you want to hang off of one amp channel, obviously. And again, an Azimut kit with KV25s. So like I said, you might get this kit with KV25s, and maybe you get a pair of KZ14s as well. You can use them both to demo to clients. Let them see and experience. You know, one thing that's interesting about all these applications in retail, and like a restaurant, I was sitting in a restaurant where they had a system, and the owner was telling me, sitting there, explaining to me what his room feels like. And I think that's a key difference in approach. You know, we all run around wanting people to hear what our speakers sound like. The people that have these spaces, they don't really care what the speakers sound like. They want to know what their room is going to feel like. Are they going to have the vibe they want in that room? So I think, you know, think about that when you're designing these small systems too. I think that's a crucial point. And there's also an app to run these Azimut systems, actually to run the amplifier. You can download the app from Google Play Store, the App Store, and it's called Azimut Discovery. So with this app, you can remotely control Wi-Fi, volume and mute, source selection, the integral Spotify player, USB player, you know, that whole list there. 4 ports of GPIO, so you can remote control everything, let's say from a Crestron system. And again, the best way is to plug Cat5 from your amp into your router so you can use whatever app you want. And now a little bit on the rumble subwoofers. You know, why would you have truffles and you have rumbles. One of the things that the rumble does is the rumble offers you, again, selectable impedance. So you're going to get that on the truffles. So if you're doing a bigger system, you want to hang more subs off the same channel, using a bigger amp, that's kind of the way to go. And there's mounting solutions for these subs. So they come with brackets that you see on the left to mount on the wall, just flat. You can also use a K-Wall 2L, which allow you to put the speaker up and tilt it. And the K-Wall 2, which are basically 2 ball joints, lets you orient that speaker however you want. And then there's the wall mount kit. So you can mount the KU26 and the KU210 in the wall. So it's nice and neat. And now we go up to the Viper KV52. So basically, this is like having 2 KV25s together. So instead of 4 1-inch drivers, you have 8. And now you have 114 dB peak. So you have quite a bit of output out of this small speaker. And notice too, the vertical dispersion has come down to 10% now. As you're getting a longer line array, it's acting more and more like a longer line array. Switchable impedance, 8 and 32 ohms. So here's the main entrance to KRA in Florence, Italy. And they have KV52s outside. So the little K you see on the left, there's a row of 4 KV52s. To the right, in the same position, there's also 4. And then that other K you see on the right, that's actually 2 more that are covering that side of the patio. So the reason they put 4, because they probably could reach the street, the sidewalk with 2, as far as how much throw. But they put 4 so you guarantee more throw, but also so you stay in the coverage pattern all the way up the stairs. So again, using KRA, you can do some great things, and if you put a little thought into it, you can come out with amazing results. Here's a KV52 in the oldest synagogue in New York City. They put this in, and they had a Broadway painter come and custom paint that so that it blended in with the marble. So if you were walking by there or whatever, you probably wouldn't even notice it. So, and this is a great example of using a KV52 standalone. Again, normally it would be better in a music situation with subs. This is really for front fill and just giving a little more speech intelligibility to the front rows. Another example, KV52s in a restaurant in New York City. So there's 12 of these, and they're all flanking the windows left and right. And then we also have 12 of the KU26 subwoofers. One thing that's really important, a lot of times integrators get used to just going into a job and summing everything to mono. If you want that really nice immersive sound, like it's floating around the room, stereo is the way to go. And we use that many subs just because they're under the seating. So we didn't want any one of the subs to have to put out so much that people were going to feel it on their bottoms. Very nice install. So as a general rule of thumb, and what speaker you would choose for either background music or immersive applications, KZ1, if you're around mid 60 dB ambient noise, KZ1 will work fine. If you're around 70 dB, KZ14 is a better choice. If you're up around 80, then you get into the KV25 or the KV52. And then in general, between Lizard and Viper, if you want kind of a real chill, nice vibe and you don't have a lot of ambient noise, you're really going to keep it at a lower level, then the KZ14 is fine. If you really want to crank it once in a while, then, I think Viper is a better choice. So let's recap a little. What we've gone through so far is the Lizard KZ1, the KZ14, the Viper KV25, and the Viper KV52. You have a full complement, 2 ranges of subs, truffle and rumble. One is black and it's aluminum. The other is stainless steel and can be customized. They both use passive radiators for more punch in a smaller box. And then the last part of the system, as I stressed earlier, is the KAO2 amplifier. And now we're going to cover one more speaker, which is really a very versatile speaker and one we sell a lot of. This is the Tornado KT2. So this little speaker is a single 2-inch neodymium driver, and it's got 90-degree conical dispersion. So very, different than the KZ14 and the Vipers. So you have several versions. You have the KT2, the KT2 in white, KT2W. You have the KT2C, which is a ceiling version. In fact, let me go to this slide. You have the KT2C, which is a ceiling version, and in black or white. And then you also have the KT2 high voltage, or 70 volt. We KRA refused to make a 70 volt speaker with a transformer like everybody else does for their inexpensive speakers. They weren't gonna they weren't gonna do that and sacrifice quality of sound. So what they've done is they actually went and had a custom driver made that has 400 ohm impedance. So that's how they achieve the 70 volt, if you will, performance. And again, notice it's switchable from 8 ohms to 32 ohms. So if you're stringing a whole bunch of them together, the 32 ohm is good. If you need a lot more than that, then maybe the HV version. So here you have a little bakery area inside a restaurant in New York City. This is called Queens Yard Restaurant. It's in Hudson Yards, the new area in New York. There are more KT2s around in the ceiling and so on. The KT2 is IP64 rated, just like a lot of the other speakers, so outdoors is no problem. It's got wide conical coverage, so in a situation like this, it covers a patio very nicely. So this is made out of solid aluminum, the chassis, so it's virtually indestructible, and like the other speakers, it can be customized with colors or plating. And it also matches with the truffle and rumble subwoofers. Another option, which is really cool, again, for to give you all the creativity that you might need, there's a little amplifier module you can fit the speaker with. So instead of powering from an amplifier, let's say, think some kind of ride or theme park or any place where you can't put an amplifier easily, you can power this little speaker. In addition, the KU26, which is the 6-inch subwoofer with passive radiator, 6-inch passive radiator, you can power that too. So now if you have a situation where you're doing music and you want a KT2, a few KT2s and a sub, they can all be self-powered. Again, very architectural looking, very pleasing, very not speaker-like in terms of aesthetic. That's why architects and interior designers really love the KRA product. Here's KT2s fit in a lighting grid with lights. So invisible in that sense. And here's how you choose the impedance. So there is no switch. It has to do with how you wire the Phoenix connector. So if you want 32 ohms, you wire from the amp to 2 minus and 1 plus, and you put a jumper between 2 plus and 1 minus. If you want 8 ohms, then you wire it like it shows in the adjacent example. So it's just a matter of wiring the Phoenix pins the way you want them. And then for the 70 volt version, this is how you would wire it with a KA24 amp, which I'll show you in a moment, one of our bigger amps, or a KA84 amp. So, if you want multiple units, you can do up to 100 units on one KA24 amp, up to 100 KT2s. You can do up to 400 on a single KA84 amp. So here's the larger amplifiers, and we're not going to go into too much detail on them. I'm going to talk more about them in the next webinar we are planning to do on mid to larger installation applications. But suffice to say that, like the little KA02, these amps have all of our DSP settings, maybe just as importantly, all the limiter settings. If you use all of the parts of our system, you're not going to blow up speakers. If you start using it with other people's amps, so on, there's a much better chance that it can happen. So you could control these amps on the front touchscreen, or you can use K-Framework 2 software connected via USB, or we sell a little dongle that's USB to RS-485 if you're wanting to, have a long run out to the middle of front of house, let's say. Here's some KT2C ceiling speakers in a soffit in a yacht. Being that our speakers are weather resistant, we've actually done a fair bit with yachts, and being that Italy is the world's #1 yacht builder, yeah, we've done a few. So here's a cheat sheet that I have that KRA has supplied. I use it all the time when I'm designing systems, helping people with design. At the end, I'm going to give you our phone numbers and emails, and you can feel free to write, and I'll be glad to email it to you. But what this chart is, it shows you every speaker and every amplifier and gives you the maximum number of that speaker at that impedance that you can put on one channel. Just really simple, like I said, a cheat sheet, so you don't have to, figure things out on your own every time you're doing a design. So here's an example. This is the Alaska Airlines lounge. These have been done by Evergreen Technologies out of Seattle. I think they've done 3 of their lounges, and they're working on more. But this particular photo you see here, up in the slatted ceiling, there's a total of 12 KT2s and 4 KU26 subs. We just recently completed a job in California for Kaiser Permanente, one of our integrators did, where there was 109 KT2s plus KU26 subs, again, in a slatted ceiling. It seems to be very popular for that application. And I'll tell you, the KT2 and the KU26 sub sounds really good together. So recapping all the speakers at this point, you have the Lizard KZ1, the Lizard KZ14, the Viper KV25, the Viper KV52, and the various versions of KT2, and the full complement of subs, and the KAO2 amplifier. So obviously, if you're using, a dozen speakers, 2 dozen speakers, you're going to be looking at going with one of our larger amplifiers. But for smaller systems, you can do a lot of that with the KAO2. And so let me reiterate again, as a dealer, I really think it's well worth your time to buy a demo kit. You see it here. We offer it in a Pelican case, so you can carry it around like I do. The TAA does like to open it up and look in there, just so you know, but they're usually scratching their head and closing it afterwards because they have no idea what it is. But yeah, it's definitely worthwhile having one of these kits, or having one of the kits with a few different speakers. Hearing is believing, and it's just amazing how every time I set up the system, still I'm amazed that it does what it does. There's also a little cuvee, which is a little beautiful little box with black and white and 3 different plated speakers. So if you want to show an interior designer or an architect what the finishes look like, that's useful. We have our website, obviously. Brochures are available. And our lookbook. This is something unique in the industry. The lookbook is really like a coffee table book. I mean, it's an inch deep book. And it's filled with photos of all of our uses of our speakers, all the different applications. So you'll see lounges, you'll see bars, you'll see clubs. hotels, you'll see concerts, theaters. And it's neat because it shows beautiful photograph. And then also you see on the left there, it'll show you what complement of speakers were used in that application. So it's really kind of handy to have around, and honestly to bring it to show to an architect or an interior designer, I think is well worth it. So if you would like to receive one of these, I don't know how many we have in stock right now, but send an email and we'll make a list and get out to you as much as we can. Just also to reiterate, if you purchase as a dealer the Azimut system, we're going to give you 20% off. And before we close, I just want to make you aware that we have several webinars coming up from Italy. We have one on our control software and one, I think, two different webinars on live sound. Some of these, so this is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Some of these get into our steerable, arrays, KH7 and KH8 and the concert series. So if you're interested in those, in that side of things as well, by all means, go to the website. I didn't put the dates and times because there's various dates and times for them, and some are in Italian and a bunch of them are in English. So you can pick the ones that are most convenient for you. And that concludes our webinar today. I hope it was useful. I hope you picked up some tips. There's my information and Rusty's information. If you want to take a moment to jot this down and if you want to request a lookbook, if you want to order a Azimut system, if you want that amplifier loudspeaker cheat sheet, just shoot either Rusty or I an email, and we'll make it happen. But we're looking forward to coming out strong after we deal with all the issues we have now, and very happy to be able to take the time to do some education with you guys today, and it'll pay off.
I also say thank you very much for taking the time, and hope we catch you on another webinar soon.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks, Rusty. Hope to talk to you again soon.